Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's 1 o'clock. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming. Hopefully we can get through this in a timely manner and a civil manner as well. With that being said, a few introductions to start the meeting. We have Laura Bookout, Morel Bunker, I don't know your married name. I call her Morel Bunker, legal counsel. We have Jay Collins, Bonnie Lockhart, Bill Klein. We have Bob Brockman on the phone, our member that is joining us today via from the hospital. So thanks, Bob. And myself, Marty Shepard. We have Malcolm over here, our county clerk. So with that being said, we'll move on to the declaration of conflicts of interest. Do I have any conflicts of interest? Nope. Okay, just for the record, I have legal notice from me saying I do not have a conflict of interest, so I'm going to participate in the discussion and the voting. And I think that should do that. Next thing, we will move into approval of the public hearing rules. Laura, if you would like to touch on the rules of the meeting, that would be great.
I would. These are the public hearing rules for the hearing held today, August 26, 2026. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Commission, will consider the following rules for the hearing held August 26, 2026, and whereas the Commission must weigh the public's interest in providing comments on the items to be considered, while also weighing the public's interest in proceeding on the matters in an efficient manner. Whereas the Commission expects significant public participation in this matter, the Commission may consider certain rules to ensure each attendee has reasonable time to make comment to the Commission, and that the Commission has adequate time to consider the comments made. Now therefore, the Commission will consider adoption of the following rules to be adopted for use during the public hearing conducted on August 26, 2026, for the purpose of considering rezoning land from ranching, agricultural, and mining to industrial. Number 1, General Decorum Guideline. A, Commission members, staff, speakers, and audience members will conduct themselves in a civil and respectful manner at all times during the public hearing. B, failure to conduct themselves in a civil and respectful manner may result in removal from the proceedings pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 16-406. C, the Commission will consider rezoning land from ranching, agricultural, and mining to industrial. 2, rules for speakers in the public comment portion of the hearing. A, speakers must write their name legibly on the public comment sign-in sheet prior to providing public comment pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 16-403B. I, Platte County Planner Laura Bookout, will need to document each individual providing public comment. B, each speaker must speak their first and last name while at the podium prior to addressing the Commission. C, speakers are requested to refrain from making disruptive comments that are I, indecent or obscene, II, intended to incite unlawful action or may put the safety of others at risk, III, derogatory toward others such as personal criticism, ridicule, or name-calling, and IV, intended to promote contests, lotteries, products, services, private enterprise, political candidates, or ballot measures. D, each member will be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers are required to keep comments related to the applications presented. I, Commission members may ask questions at any time. When a Commissioner member initiates a question of a speaker, that time will not be considered as part of the speaker's 3-minute allotted time. II, this will be timed and strictly enforced. 3, rules for audience. A, audience members shall refrain from distracting side conversations or speaking out during meetings. B, audience members shall refrain from shouting, booing, or other similar unruly behavior that impedes or disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. C, audience members shall not approach the Commission table. 4, enforcement of decorum rules. A, the Chair will request that a person who is violating a rule of decorum cease their behavior. B, if the behavior continues, the Chair will warn the person that he or she will be removed from the building if the behavior continues. C, if the behavior continues, the Chair will order the person to leave the building and may request law enforcement assistance to effectuate removal if necessary. D, Refusal to remove oneself from the meeting room when ordered to do so may result in criminal prosecution pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 66303. E, pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 1640406, continued disruption may result in the commission recessing the meeting and convene in another location.
Thank you, Laura. One quick note, too, before we start. Prior meetings, I've been very judicious of letting people interrupt, calling points of order. Today, that's not going to happen. The only person that can call for a point of order is our clerk, our secretary, and the board members. So don't waste your breath today because I'm not going to acknowledge you. We're going to do this in a civil manner and hopefully get through it. So with that, we're going to move right into new business, and it's Site Layer 4 application for rezoning of land from ranching, agriculture, and mining to industrial.
Sorry, Chairman, I need you to vote and approve the rules of the hearing.
Oh.
Thank you.
I need a motion to approve the rules for the meeting. I have a motion to approve the rules for the meeting and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. For those of you that didn't hear, Bob voted aye. Thank you.
Today we're here regarding application 2626 rezone SL4. The applicant is Ian Marcus on behalf of Site Layer 4. Ian is not here today on Site Layer 4's behalf. We have Blake Marcus. We also have Stephanie Blahoviak and Ben Gager with SWCA and Jeff Pope with Holland and Hart. The location of the land is shown on the map is Section 4, the southeast quarter of Section 5, the southeast quarter of Section 7, the south half and the northeast quarter of Section 8, all of Sections 9, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, the north half of the northwest quarter of Section 29, Township 23 North, Range 65 West, and the south half of Section 33 and Township 24 North, Range 65 West in Platte County, Wyoming. This land is currently zoned as RAM, Ranching, Agricultural, and Mining. The following meeting is today at the Agriplex. The next meeting will be the Board of County Commissioners, Wednesday, September 2nd, 2026, 1 p.m. at this location, the Agriplex. Site Layer 4 requests a rezone of land from ranching, agricultural, and mining to industrial. The parcel of land for the requested rezone is located within a single parcel owned by Lazy V6 and totals 5,344 acres. The purpose of the rezone is to create a utility-scale, co-located energy generation, storage, and data center campus to support U.S. energy independence and America's modern computing action plan. The applicant states, transitioning the proposed project area from RAM to industrial would result in less than 0.5% change in acres dedicated to ranching and agricultural in Platte County. The project area has been selected specifically because it enables development of a unified, co-located facility, limiting potential sprawl of infrastructure and associated regional impacts from sprawl. The project area has access to critical grid interconnection and other necessary existing infrastructure, is separated from residential uses and public spaces, and is visibly buffered via topography from the community of Wheatland. The project area has access to existing commercial electrical, transmission, and natural gas utilities. Site Layer 4 would generate the necessary power for the data center on site and would use existing utilities for supportive facilities such as on-site substations and operations and maintenance buildings. The data center would rely on a closed-loop cooling system. The cooling system would be filled by a commercial supplier. A small amount of water would be used from on-site wells for potable drinking water and wastewater for things like kitchenettes and bathrooms. The approval of the rezone would expedite the applicant's ability to develop the project and proceed with permitting. The project would provide substantial public benefits, including a significant increase in funding, supporting local services, as well as create short and long-term jobs and economic diversification. The project would be designed in compliance with Wyoming Executive Order 2026-03 and all applicable local, state, and federal safety, environmental, and engineering standards to avoid physical hazards and protect the public health, safety, welfare, and economic strength of Platte County. If approved, Site Layer 4 would be developed over multiple years with infrastructure strategically scaled to meet market demands. The project would incorporate all necessary stormwater, drainage, and other environmental controls consistent with local, state, and federal requirements and prioritize environmental protection and effective mitigation of potential environmental impacts. As a reminder, this is not a special use permit application. It is only an application for a rezoning of ranching, agricultural, and mining land to become zoned as industrial land. Platte County land use rules and regulations state, the purpose of rezoning is to change the zoning of the land and allow uses specifically allowed in a land use district. Notifications were sent out. Adjacent property owners and the landowner were notified by certified mail on July 6, 2026, and then again on July 15, 2026, due to the request of the applicant to have the hearing held at a larger venue. Public notice was published in the Platte County Record Times on July 8th and again on July 22nd, 2026, again due to the rescheduling at the request of the applicant for a larger venue. And finally, public notice signs were posted on Thursday, August 6, 2026 at 3 locations on either Platte County road easements or on the landowner's property. Some public comments were received by noon, August 20, 2026 on the deadline. They were attached and will not be presented at the meeting due to time constraints. Have you all had time to review and read the public comments presented during that open time? Bill, Marty, Bob? Did you have time to read the public comments? Did you have time to read the public comments that were received in advance? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Agency comments. Platte County Weed and Pest stated that Site Layer 4 did not address the Prebles Meadows jumping mouse, which is listed as threatened by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife in their application. Platte County Road and Bridge Department has no issues with the application to rezone. If this project should move forward, a road use agreement will be required. Platte County Emergency Management verbally stated no concerns with the rezone application. Any future applications would be subject to further review and comment. At this time, the Planning Office recommends approval. Due to the uniqueness and size of this rezone request, the Planning Office would like to impose conditions for rezoning. I have talked with the county attorney, and during a rezoning of land, we can impose conditions as long as all parties involved agree. As far as I am aware, both the applicant and the landowner agree and agree with the 3 conditions I have presented, which are, 1, the rezoned land will revert to ranching, agricultural, and mining if construction of Site Layer 4 has not commenced within 5 years of the rezoning approval date or upon permanent decommissioning. This is a sunset clause the applicant has requested and the Planning Office agrees with based upon the following definition of sunset clause. A sunset clause, a set part of a law, rule, or contract that has an expiration date. It says the rule will stop working on a specific day or when a certain event happens, unless people in charge vote to extend it. In this case, the people in charge would be both the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. The second condition, any industrial park subdivision of the land is to be presented to the Board of County Commissioners for review prior to recording. The county does not have jurisdiction over large acre parcels, and as a result, it will be reviewing the proposed industrial park record of survey, or plat, accompanied by any state-required approvals. At this time, a site plan is to be presented by the applicant permittee for the preliminary review by the Planning Office and the Board of County Commissions. Number 3, any type of development on the rezoned land must obtain a special use permit. As a reminder, land classifications run with the land, not with the applicant permittee. At this time, Site Layer 4 would like to do a presentation to the commission. Blake, or Stephanie? Blake or Stephanie coming up first? Thank you.
Could you repeat condition number 3 right quick?
Condition number 3, any type of development on the rezoned land must obtain a special use permit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Planning Commission members, My name is Stephanie Blahoviak, and I am with SWCA Environmental Consultants. I am a certified land use planner and project manager, and I am going to start the presentation today. If we could pull up the cover title slide, that would be great. SWCA Environmental Consultants, or SWCA, has been hired by SiteLayer 4 LLC to complete environmental due diligence and permitting support for the project, and we are the ones who compiled the application for the rezone. Thank you for your time to date on reviewing the application materials. We appreciate your time and the special meeting today. The request for the rezone is on approximately 5,344 acres of private land. The current zone district is the Ranching, Agriculture, and Mining, or RAM zone. The requested zone is the Industrial Zone, or I zone, and the rezoning application was prepared according to the Platte County Land Use Rules and Regulations, approved January 21, 2025, or the code. The reasoning behind the rezone request, we believe that the industrial zone is the most appropriate zone district that best enables a project like SiteLayer 4 to continue. The concept for the project is a utility scale co-located energy generation, energy storage, and data center project. This rezone application is one step of many other steps that would need to follow. The concept for SiteLayer 4 is a power-first approach to data center development. There are a few reasons why this is becoming the preferred approach in many places in the United States. It is data centers bringing their own power. And so this brings power that is needed for that economic development, for that use, for the data center. It also reduces risks for existing public or private utility operators, as well as customers. This can do some schedule streamlining. Sometimes the upgrades that might be needed with utility partners, especially public utilities, the timelines can be lengthy. And this power-first approach, bringing your own power and offering to provide the upgrades needed, is a way to be more competitive in this marketplace for development of this type of infrastructure. The rezone request is, if approved, is how we would like to clarify the permitting pathway and for the project to get predictability in the permitting pathway after this rezone, if it is approved. It also would allow for the flexibility that we would need to continue with the design project for something at this scale. That's why the ask is for that acreage. Next slide, please. In our review of the policies and planning documents and the Platte County Code, we took a deep dive into the Platte County Development Plan adopted in May of 2008. The planning horizon for this document was 2008 through 2028, and this was an effort that appears to have been, in part, to prepare for some future major projects that were coming online in those decades, including a regional high-voltage transmission line corridor, as well as utility-scale wind energy projects in particular. And the plan speaks to an increased interest in economic development efforts and strengthening and improving Platte County physical attributes, minimizing conflicting land uses and improving zoning and really laying a foundation for additional adoption, which appears to have occurred in Platte County for zone districts and land use regulations, that if development would come into the county, those would rule the development application specific to the actual project. Next slide. The project is in alignment with this guiding policy document. This high-level plan is an advanced planning document that guides development and signals priorities and policies and goals. The project area where we have requested the rezone is shown in the development plan within the county plan, and it's listed under the development areas in the legend, and appears to be approximately in the natural resources protection and development area in red, and or a portion of it might be in the natural resources protection and development area, parentheses, wind energy. So the yellow area was identified as a high resource area for wind resources, and anticipated that there would be future development over time in those areas. We obviously have seen that activity play out over the past few decades. And these areas are, in the plan, are like many growth plans for land use planning. They talk about the trade-offs of goals and policies and balancing natural resources protection and or use in ways such as mining, et cetera, with the economic development goals and opportunities also available in these areas. Next slide. The Site Layer 4 project, this rezone, would be one step, again, of many, and this rezone would support the county plan document desire for a complete range of land uses available in Platte County. It would allow for new land use patterns that could guide strategic development if development projects come to the county for review, and certainly would add to the economic diversification of Platte County and expansion of the tax base. It would be a major private investment, maybe once in a generation level of investment of private funds into Platte County. It would allow for a well-planned industrial park development, and it would allow for a new land use pattern for new economic uses. Next slide. The rezone request for the 5,344 acre area would allow for future industrial scale permitting process and use, and allow for ongoing county, Platte County and Wyoming statewide agriculture. The site is strategic because it is near, has proximity to existing infrastructure. Projects like this they must have access to existing infrastructure, for example, high voltage transmission lines, natural gas pipelines, fiber lines, as well as ingress and egress to sites. The land area is strategic as well. Again, we're in a very early stage of the project development process, and this maximum area allows for flexibility for movement of components as additional studies are completed and we have more information on the site, and we've got some more engineering studies, et cetera. That's just more land to move things around, to meet setbacks, to meet all of the local, state, and federal rules that apply to a project of this type. And the estimate for conversion of land from RAM would be less than 0.5% by our calculations in Platte County. In the county plan, the plan mentions that zoning is critical to implementing the plan and guiding development as it comes to the county. The Site Layer 4 rezoning request to industrial complies with the Platte County Code. The approval would allow for future industrial scale development and a shared opportunity between Platte County and Site Layer 4 LLC. And the rezoning request, if approved, would not provide any project approval, project permit approval, development, anything like that. This would be just one step, and then we absolutely assume that there would be a next step for, at a minimum, a special use permit application. An overview of the project development process is here. So again, we're really early stage. And there are three main phases, if you will, in this process. We are in the first one, site evaluation. This is where we're doing preliminary studies. There's financial and technical pieces that need to, activities that need to occur, and things like rezoning. Now, every step here is dependent on prior step results. So depending on the results during this first phase, if we pass all of the go criteria, then we would go into the second phase, entitlements and permitting. That's where you're doing more studies and full siting. You're getting closer to a layout design. You've got, you're working towards land approval, so that's where you would be submitting for something like a special use permit. You're looking at your utility contracts, and you're also trying to schedule out all of the permitting beyond land approval that would be needed. In this case, there are several state and federal permits that are also anticipated and would have to be planned along with the local permit. If we pass all of those steps, which there are many, many rules, then we would go to pre-construction and then ultimately operations down the line. The preliminary siting due diligence process, just wanted to provide some information of what has been complete to date and what is in progress. So far, we have completed a Phase 1 environmental site assessment or a Phase 1 ESA. We've looked at cultural resources through a desktop assessment using publicly available information and records requested from the Wyoming State Historic Preservation Office. We've completed a preliminary aquatic resources delineation. This is where we look to see if there are wetland features on site, other aquatic features, we delineate those. We've completed preliminary wildlife and vegetation assessment using publicly available data, and we've completed a few meetings now for preliminary coordination with the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality, the WDEQ. And in progress or ongoing are wildlife species-specific field surveys, boundary recovery, utility mapping, topographic surface mapping, agency coordination, traffic impact study or TIS, preliminary engineering studies and site layout studies, and a myriad of other preliminary studies are ongoing. Next slide. In summary, before I turn it over to Blake Marcus with Site Layer 4 LLC, we understand that there are trade-offs associated with all decisions and opportunities, and certainly that is the case in land use planning. And we believe that there are trade-offs here and that there are potential great benefits for Platte County, and we look forward to answering any of your questions later, and thank you again for the meeting today.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Good afternoon. My name is Blake Marcus. I'm the project developer for Site Layer 4. And before we get started, I'd like to thank Planning and Zoning for their efforts during this process thus far. And I'd also like to thank the members of the public who've taken time out of their day to talk about this first step in the project and to share their thoughts. The rezone request is the first step to present an opportunity to the county, and we'd like to thank you in advance for your consideration. We are Site Layer 4. We are a greenfield development company, and we focus on advancing responsible energy and digital infrastructure projects. The project we are proposing is a utility-scale energy and data center development in Platte County, Wyoming. Our development process combines land evaluation, energy planning, environmental diligence, engineering analysis, and community engagement to responsibly advance very complex infrastructure projects. And Site Layer 4 is supported by a small and experienced team. This internal team includes specialized third-party consultants, environmental scientists like SWCA, thank you very much, who just presented, engineering, utilities, permitting, legal, and technical consultants. Our team's experience includes gigawatt-sized battery storage development and utility energy development investment, and our current development efforts include all aspects of development of digital infrastructure and energy projects across America, with several projects moving into permitting in 2026 and 2027. Previously, our company developed and sold a portfolio of BESS, or battery energy storage system projects. So, why are we applying for a rezone? The rezone is a key step for clarity on the permitting pathway and schedule. This clarity allows us to complete site diligence and prepare a special use permit that meets the standards of the county regulations. As Stephanie said, we have completed our initial fatal flaw analysis and preliminary environmental review to evaluate the site's feasibility, and these studies and reaching out to the public are the first steps in making this idea into a feasible and well thought out project. We've submitted this rezoning application to establish the appropriate land use framework for the project and enable additional comprehensive studies, including environmental, engineering, socioeconomic, traffic impact, and utility infrastructure assessments, as Stephanie mentioned previously. We are requesting the rezoning of the entire project area, and we've done this for several specific reasons. Firstly, industrial zoning allows for future higher tax assessment during the project operation rather than the lower RAM tax assessment. It is currently our assumption at this time that Platte County would benefit from increased tax base, and we believe it's our duty as the project developers to pay our way, and tax benefits are one way we can support the county. Secondly, we have not yet completed our site diligence or our geotechnical analysis. As we understand the project better, we will create engineering layouts that is informed by studies and technical feasibility. And as our engineering evolves, we don't want to waste planning and zoning or Board of County Commissioner times with multiple applications for rezone each time we make updates to our site layout. And finally, as Laura mentioned, the rezoning process allows us to engage with the county and the community as early as possible while having a sunset provision that reverts anything back to RAM if there is no construction or permanent decommissioning. The reframe for the rezone, the requested provision for the project area to revert to RAM if it's not constructed or upon permanent decommissioning, as Laura was saying, allows this area to move back into agricultural if we don't proceed with the special use permit or for some reason our application is not within the regulations of Platte County. You can move on to the next slide, please. So how do we select our sites? We chose the area in Platte County after we completed the initial research in the following areas. Scientific diligence, we look for favorable initial site diligence, including environmental studies and fatal flaw analysis. We research proximity to power, gas, and fiber infrastructure as part of our site selection. We look for sites with minimal project viewshed and visual impact with a large buffer from densely populated neighborhoods. And we look for areas where the permitting is clearly understood, like it is for Platte County and the Site Layer 4 project. And lastly, we look for communities with a desire for economic growth that would welcome high-paying and local jobs. And I think if you scroll down just a teeny bit more, weather is also an important conversation. The ambient temperature of Wyoming will help naturally cool servers and reduce our need for consumptive water. Next slide, please. So the concept design, Site Layer 4 is designing the project with water stewardship as a core consideration. The data center would use a closed-loop water cooling system. Closed-loop water cooling system does not use evaporative cooling and keeps our water needs to a minimum. We have no plans at the moment to interconnect to the municipal water or the Wheatland Irrigation District. And as you can see from the map, we fall pretty far outside, about 8 miles outside of the current Wheatland Irrigation District. The final size of the data center and its water use will be informed by our commercial negotiations with power and gas companies and what co-located energy we can generate on site. But we currently anticipate about 15 acre-feet of water use annually. That is about 5 acres of hayfield, about 20 to 30 households. This preliminary estimate of water usage is less than most pivot irrigation uses and less water than a single day of Laramie River power plant consumption. For comparison, all of the data centers in Cheyenne combined use approximately 1.4% of their town's annual water consumption, and many of these data centers are older designs without the water-saving engineering that new construction offers. The total combined use is equivalent to less than one of Cheyenne's golf courses right now per season. To the next slide, please. So how does the closed loop system actually work? We use water predominantly in a state-of-the-art closed loop cooling system. Closed loop cooling systems are non-evaporative cooling technologies. They reduce the operational water consumption and have minimal water use, making them reliable, efficient, and low maintenance. The system will require an initial fill of water. This will take place as the project comes online, and following commissioning, water use would be limited primarily to occasional system top-offs and scheduled maintenance. On the right, you can see a diagram. This simplified diagram shown on screen illustrates how the cooling process in a sealed system might work. The cool water passes past the servers and the chips. The water absorbs the heat generated by the servers, and then when the warm water is cooled, either using heat transfer and or dry coolers, the now cool water is ready for recirculation back to the data hall. Other water uses on site will be operations and maintenance, where we plan to implement efficient practices to limit non-essential water use, and then also domestic and sanitation for our on-site employees. This water will support potable drinking water, domestic use, restroom facilities, and sanitation for our on-site employees. If you mind going back up one slide. Oh, sorry, please go to the next slide. I was looking at my wrong note. Lastly, we are here to listen. During this early stage of development and through the permitting process, we want to hear from you, we want to hear from the commissioners, and we want to hear from the community. The coming months provide the opportunity to gather feedback, address questions early on in our process, and the period between the rezoning and the permit application will be used to incorporate this community feedback for concerns and desires so we can complete a thoughtful application that reflects the values and needs of this community. I would encourage community members to share their vision on how the project of this scale could positively impact Platte County. And if you would please stay on the slide so people can take down an email address where I will be personally responding to individuals. And I want to thank you again for your consideration. And I look forward to moving forward with this rezone process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Blake. Could you, one more time, Mr. Klein asked me to have you repeat this, talk about the water usage again, just refresh on that one more time. I can
Sure.
read it, but I just want everybody to hear.
Yeah, so this will use a closed loop water cooling system. The state-of-the-art technology uses very minimal water usage. It is equivalent to a pivot irrigation use of a water for about a few days. This amount of consumptive water will be approximately 15 acre-feet of water annually. And then there will be additional water use that is for sanitation and potable use for on-site employees. That number of employees could be as high as 300 permanent full-time local employees. But that number will be dictated by the eventual size of the data center, and that size is dictated by our commercial negotiations. moving forward and the amount of power that can be generated on site. So we're looking forward to getting more clarity on the size and scale as we move forward in our diligence process post the rezone.
Thank you.
Thank you, much appreciated. And then I'd like to call the landowner Gregor to say a few words, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Gregor Kurtz. My wife Cindy and I own 100% of Lazy V6 Inc., which owns the property being discussed here. My grandfather began buying property in Goshen Hole area approximately 100 years ago. Two of my uncles then purchased the property from him and added additional land.
Hey,
as it
Gregor,
became
can I
available.
interrupt you 1 second? Speak a little closer to the mic so we
Okay,
can hear.
sorry.
We're trying to fix it. Bear with us.
We okay now?
Better.
Should I continue on or start over?
Start over.
Oh.
Sorry, I know it sucks to be you.
I'm Gregor Kurtz. My wife and Cindy own 100% of Lazy V6, which owns the property being discussed here. My grandfather began buying property in Goshen Hole area approximately 100 years ago. Two of my uncles then purchased the property from him and added additional land as it became available. We were fortunate to be able to purchase this property from my Uncle Albert about 24 years ago. We support this zoning request and look forward to the many benefits it could provide to all of Platte County. Thank you to the Planning and Zoning Commission for your time and your serious considerations. Do you have any questions of me as landowner?
Any questions from the board at this time?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. I noticed there's a chunk of state ground and then some BLM within the property boundary. Have they been contacted, or what's their,
They're outside of the project area. They left them out, the state and the BLM. The BLM is rough country up in the bluffs.
Thank you, Gregor.
Thank you.
I guess at this time, we will open it up to public comment. Once again, all you need to do to be able to talk is come sign up right before you speak. You don't need to sign up 5 minutes earlier or later. I just need you to please sign in before you get to the podium. That's all we ask. Please keep your comments important relative to the issue, and we can get through this.
All right. I do have somebody who's presented me a letter this morning, well, today at the meeting, who is a little gun shy in public. So this is a letter of support. Go ahead and, yep. Letter of support for rezoning application to the Platte County Planning and Zoning Commission and the board and the Platte County Commissioners. My name is Tiffany Lang, and I'm writing as a community stakeholder and member in full support of this rezoning request. I have lived in Platte County for 9 years. In that time, my family and my businesses have invested deeply in this community, providing jobs, paying taxes, supporting local schools, and raising our children here with the hope that they will one day have the opportunity to return, work, and build their own futures in Platte County. For far too long, our community has developed a habit of saying no to change. I have watched businesses close, opportunities pass us by, and families struggle to justify staying when growth is continually pushed away. My own family chooses to stay because we see the long-term value and potential of this county, even if that potential is not fully realized today. I believe the majority of Platte County residents are hardworking people who want our economy to thrive for generations to come. Unfortunately, the loudest voices are often those using fear-based messaging or misinformation to oppose projects that meet standards, follow the rules, and bring economic benefit. Responsible landowners deserve respect, and they deserve the ability to use their property within the law without being subjected to personal attacks or unfounded claims. When my family purchased land here, with everything we had worked for, I did not expect my neighbors to dictate how we used our property unless it violated established standards or directly harmed their livelihood. That same respect should be extended to every landowner in Platte County. A little respect goes a long way, and it strengthens, not divides our community. I want to thank the Planning and Zoning Board, the county commissioners, the planner, and every staff member who has dedicated countless hours to reviewing this application. Your work matters, and your commitment to due process is appreciated. I hope to see this rezoning move forward for this family, for this family who has every right to pursue the lawful use of their land despite public pressure from those who oppose change. Communities that grow do not do so because they welcome opportunity. Fort Collins did not stop growing because Anheuser-Busch built there. In fact, they grew stronger. We have not stopped reaching out to our friends at the power plant asking to support our events and our school activities, and I don't think it will change with new business coming in. They want to put back into communities too. We can decide what that looks like if we look forward and work together. Platte County should not continue turning away projects that could support jobs, families, and long-term economic stability. It is time for us to move Platte County forward together. Let's make this a place where our kids and their kids can return, work, and thrive instead of living in mom's basement, waiting for a rare opening or watching opportunities leave the county. In closing, even though I'm only one person, I want to clearly state, I support the rezoning and I support the Platte County Commissioners and the Planning and Zoning Board in advancing responsible growth for our community. Thank you. Tiffany Lang.
Thank you, Laura. And once you step to the podium, please state your name, if you would, please, for us.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Malady. I live up on the Slater Flats. Sorry, love. Oh, no, you're fine. So I do understand the economic potentials of this. I'd like to see a moratorium put on until we have a greater understanding of the long-term effects. If the land is zoned for industrial, we're not required to have an environmental impact statement. We have very great organizations that are free to us, Wyoming Game and Fish. I would like to see those agencies brought in. They're independent agencies. They have no gain on this side or that side. Let's have scientific information presented to us before we move forward. I think we need to look at power, the road infrastructures, water. I would really like to have meaningful studies done and mitigation measures done before we approve this project. My land was bought in '99. I kind of thought at first, oh, wouldn't it be nice to be having a duck pond on my place? I contacted our NRCS. I would have to have an environmental impact study done before I could do another little small well for a duck pond. So I think we really need to be looking at these things. I very respectfully ask you guys to evaluate these issues. Let's require transparency from the developer. Let's ensure the residents are given a voice in these things. I think we just have kind of felt a little bit like it's been crammed down our throats a bit. I think we would like input. I think we need environmental impact studies done. I think we have a lot of resources available that we're not going to be able to use in this. I think our environment should truly remain the top priority. Growth should not come at the expense of water security. We need every decision should be based on scientific information, transparency, long-term planning. And I respectfully ask you to please consider that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, guys. My name is Steve Sherrard. I've lived here, this month will be 72 years if I make it. I practiced law for 44 years, retired 2 years ago. I was here as an employee of a survey company when the Gray Rocks Dam was being built. First of all, before I continue, I want to thank you guys for serving. I mean, it's kind of a thankless job, and appreciate you taking the time to serve. The power plant, the naysayers on the power plant, they all said, oh, there's a bunch of trailer trash moving in, a bunch of criminals, there's horrible people, there's earthquakes that are going to take out the dam, and there was just one horrible scenario after another. And as it turned out, we had some fine people ultimately come in. We have many locals that are working out there now. We have the Mickelson family, for instance. Mick is already retired. His son Levi runs the outfit. We've got the Walkers. Tim Walker just retired, and his son Kelby is a mechanical engineer out there. Craig Brown's a local boy, farm family as a maintenance supervisor. Some fine people are working out there, and thank God we have it. One of the things that I think people were worried about was the fact that you don't have to get an industrial siding permit. I've talked to Patrick Collins, the mayor of Cheyenne. He says, no problems. You don't need to go through that process. You just do development agreements with these people. They'll give you what you want and then more. And you might even get them to pay your attorney's fees to put the deal together. We need a shot in the arm. My stepson came here about, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was doing some painting for my wife and I. And he looked around and he says, boy, is Wheatland turning into a ghost town? I said, why do you ask? Well, all these vacant buildings. And I said, no. And then I got to thinking about it. Maybe we are. You know, we're turning into a retirement community. We need a shot in the arm. I talked to a teacher who said if we lose 2 more students, we're going from 3A to 2A. I support this zoning change, and I think it can be done responsibly, and the county commissioners can make the deal and protect Platte County at the same time, increasing the hell out of the tax base. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Miller. So I just kind of tell a little story. I sent a certified letter to Ian Marcus and Gregor Gertz wanting more information. As an adjacent landowner on 3 sides, I felt that we had the right to more information. Gregor was super kind enough that he called me back. He met with a couple of us adjoining landowners. Did not have a lot more information than the application. Mr. Marcus sent my letter back unopened, and Gregor told us that he did not have time to meet with the private landowner. I feel that's very concerning. You know, they said that they are here to listen. The first thing I had before I knew it was a rezone is we had the initial surveyor trespassing on our land to get access. So just some concerns about the information. I want information about it. As the private landowner next door, I have a house within maybe a half mile, 3/4 of a mile. I want information. The roads, I think Goshen County roads need assistance, water, a cleanup bond, noise. How are they getting the data out? They can't condemn to get the fiber out. You know, what is the plan there? What's the difference between industrial and industrial park? And so I just feel that we need a lot more information about this, and I feel that going to the Industrial Siting Council would give us time and the knowledge. They have the manpower and they have the ways to do it. They've done this before, and I think that this really needs a lot more answers that we as adjoining landowners have not had. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Maybe to expedite this process, we could have the next person come up and sign. That way we could move right into the comments. So
Thank you for having me. My name is Juan Reyes. My wife and I moved here in 1983, started ranching and farming. I think this community of naysayers, and I'll give you some examples. When the power plant was built, half of it was for and half against. When WID sold the Rafter 6, which took us out of any obligation, any finances on the Ringsby Ranch, which is so important to us, there was a lot of opposition. The hog farm was a lot of opposition. Water sold to the power plant was a lot of opposition. I think this project is worthwhile approving, and I'll give you my reason. I think it's very low impact on the land and the community. These guys are not just buying 40 acres and putting a building on, they're buying a ranch. And most of all, whom the hell wants to live in the Goshen Hole anyway? Nobody goes there anyway. It's a darn good place for it. But I tell you what really brings me here. Most of you know my background. To me, if the land is not sold, if I'm a landowner, a farmer, a rancher, and I cannot sell the land because a few naysayers, I think you're prohibiting me the opportunity of making money. I don't know if you understand that or not, but if I cannot sell it for a big price, like folks do, you are prohibiting me. And that to me is it just sounds socialistic, to be honest with you. So mainly this is about a private property issue to me more than anything else. That's about it. I've heard all kinds of complaints, and you've heard them already. You know, the water, the electricity, and the trash. And I was talking to this gentleman the other day, and he was telling me the same thing. And he's concerned about the water, he's concerned about the electricity, and then he's concerned about all the trash that came here during the power plant. And I got to thinking about that, and I said, God, I'm one of those guys, mister. You know, I came here in the late 70s pounding nails with Norboland for the power plant housing. So anyway, not all the trash has left. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to address you. My name is Kristen Bellinger. I'm a 15-year resident of Platte County. My husband and I are local business owners, and I have 3 children who I would like to see stay in Platte County and have jobs. But I have some concerns, and I have some thoughts that I'd like to voice as a member of this community. We used to live for 7 years out on Ring Neck Road within sight and sound of the Laramie River Power Station, so I know what it's like to live in that area. We loved being there, and it wasn't too bad. We live in town now, and I want to say up front that I'm not here to take a stance for or against the data center project specifically, but I do have questions, and I want to speak up for those of us who may just want to have better answers than we've gotten so far. As Platte County residents, we know that we would have to sacrifice for this particular project to come in. The area did have to make sacrifices when LRS came in, but we did see many very good benefits in the long run. We can acknowledge that. In light of those very clear sacrifices, I would like to at least have it acknowledged what those sacrifices would likely be to the community in a way that addresses those fears directly and with compassion for those who truly are just trying to do the best that they can. and presents a plan on how those concerns and actual problems may be lessened, and the stressful impacts on the community that would come from this rezone to industrial could be alleviated. So with this in mind, I would like to present the following concerns that I have and some of the opportunities that I see that if this were to go forward as a rezoning, that we could work collaboratively to avoid negatively impacting the community at the benefit of potentially a small few benefiting. I have questions and concerns about the industrial development that sort of is implicitly implied in the rezone that's not being specified apart from the data center. If we open this rezone up, we know about the data center, we don't know about what the other items will be. The initial fill, I'm not clear on whether that comes from an aquifer or if that's being trucked in. What will happen, will there be money set aside for a potential site cleanup, decommissioning, pollution remediation in the event that it's needed? Or will that have to be pursued after the fact? Will there be a guaranteed number of permanent non-construction jobs for local residents? We hear lots of promises, but we'd like to know actual numbers. We'd like to see some concrete benefits for the community. When LRS came in, there was a community center for a while, and the Black Mountain area of town where I now live was developed. I think that we could ask and hopefully see some willingness to provide some sort of benefits to the community and the long-term funds to be able to carry them forward. Those are just some ideas that I have. Hopefully, that's helpful.
Thank you very much.
Hi, guys. I'm Fred Meyer. I own the Whitetail Ranch. Me and my family do, and other farm properties. We own a manufacturing facility within the town. That manufacturing facility in Colorado Springs employed 100 employees, between 100 and 120 employees. The state asked us to move it up here, actually to Cheyenne. And I was buying a building down there, and a bullet manufacturer raised a bid $1 million the day we was closing. So we brought it to Wheatland, hoping that it would be an incentive because it's all high caliber manufacturing equipment, that it would entice young people in the community to participate in that type of manufacturing. The fact is, we made a mistake. We still manufacture in various operations that we have in Texas and South Carolina. But we could not get the interest in manufacturing. We're talking CNC, robots, robotic arms, lasers. We moved up here. That equipment will be leaving in the next couple months. We'll keep the facilities here for another purpose. We'll send the manufacturing to Texas. But I can tell you, if Platte County and Wheatland don't wake up and do something, Wheatland's going to dry down to a small pea. I was here when the power plant was going through and everything, heard a lot of the same stories and naysaying. Those naysaying turned out to be untrue. Most of it was hearsay. I find myself in an unusual situation. Usually Juan and Steve Sherrard and I don't see eye to eye on stuff, you know. So I'm having a little trouble here. But I support this. I'm a big proponent of landowners' rights. If ranchers and farmers can't do with what their property that they've slaved with blood on for years, and families have for years, and can't enjoy the benefits of it, we're not in a free country. And that's where we need to be, and Platte County certainly needs to be there. So I agree that there has to be some information provided. But these naysayers and stuff need to go in and go into a facility. Next time they say something, ask them if they viewed a facility. If they done that type of backup, rather than operating off a hearsay on a naysay. So put me down as supporting this. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Hi, I'm Catherine Tucker. I need to move it down. Hi, is that better? I'm Catherine Tucker. I've been a resident here for 7 years. I moved from California. Oh, I know what big businesses mean to communities. I also know that there's a downside. And right now, we're talking about a closed loop, 30 to 50 homes, correct? That's what you're saying. But you're also saying that you're going to be making your own power, correct? I'm sorry. He's talking about making their own power as well, and they use a ton of water to cool off their equipment. My husband worked at PG&E in California. He knows what that entails. He knows about the chemicals that go in that water that they have to remediate. They're not talking about remediation. Their buildings are only good 10 to 20 years, and afterwards you have this great big concrete square sitting out there in the middle of nowhere. It costs millions of dollars to remediate it. It's also going to cost millions of dollars for our community when the PFAS has to be taken out of the municipal water, because they got to get rid of it, right? And that is going to come due 2029 and 2030. And so we're going to get left with a bill. And I understand that we want our kids to stay here. We want our town to be viable. We want it to be someplace where people will come, spend their money, have a good time, and say, hey, isn't this a great place? But if we don't have water, they're not going to want to come here. And if we don't have the resources to do this, they're not going to want to come here. They talk about all these jobs. They're temporary jobs at best, because that is for construction. What they're not telling you is that those other jobs that are going to stay here are technical jobs. They're technicians, people that are highly trained to keep this data center running. And, you know, I hope our kids have that kind of training, but right now they don't. And how many construction workers do we have here that we're going to be able to employ? Not a lot. And so they're going to bring people here, which is going to take up housing for rent and food and stuff like that. And you have to ask yourself, do we have the infrastructure to employ 500 people or more? And you have to talk about remediation of the sites. You have to talk about, what if there's a fire and you have all these forever chemicals and our firefighters are exposed to it? It's a big deal. And so they're not addressing these issues. So thank you for listening to me. I would love to hear more about this, what they're going to do about these things, the practical things. Thank you.
Thank you. I need to remind everybody too, today we're not, in my mind, and I think this board's mind, we're not discussing the data center, period. Yes, I'm listening to your concerns, but today the issue at hand is a rezone. If the rezone passes, then we can move into recommendations and/or conditions on a permit to maybe approve or disapprove whatever is yet to come. But today, we are dealing with strictly a rezone.
Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Reidenauer, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I do not live in Platte County. I'm a resident of Goshen County and a proud resident of Goshen Hole. So this proposed site sits right on our border, but in none of the zoning or pre-planning documents that I've seen so far have the applicants addressed any of the issues that we'll face in Goshen County with this. And I think also in Platte County, some of the issues haven't really been appropriately addressed yet. So first of all, they make the statement that the plan is in alignment with the planning document, and I do disagree with that. There are several places in the planning document where you say that you want to limit sprawl, you want to encourage traditional uses of ranching and resource development in rural areas. You want to, so for example, under planning goals, overall goal, page 11, you talk about rural areas. In your growth management and land use, overall goal, page 14, you want to provide for a complete range of land uses in Platte County, and that includes protection of rural areas. And then under strategy 3, you designate the remainder of the county as rural. That is, aside from some of the special planning areas and wheatland. This is a very rural area. This is beyond rural. We have less than one person per square mile living out there. So I'm not sure why you'd want to put a data center in the middle of that. Seems like I-25 would be a much better place. One of the problems is the marginal dirt roads when we talk about access roads. And, you have the hill down Dickerson Road. I hope you've all been down that road. It's pretty atrocious. It's going to need a lot of work. And then there are the access roads in from Goshen County, and those need a lot of work too. Minimal, they need to be paved in order to support this kind of development. I think that we maybe need a temporary moratorium in order to take a look at some of the issues. I'm concerned about noise, especially if they use refurbished jet engines as their gas-fired power plant. I'm worried about low-frequency infrasound. On the water issue, they say they're going to use less than 15 acre-feet per year. And I know this is later, but who's going to regulate that? As an irrigator, I know that people are always trying to take more irrigation water than they're supposed to have. If they can get away with it, they take it. What about these guys? Who's going to make sure that they're using their water appropriately, that they're putting it back down in the ground safely? And so those are just some of my concerns and questions. Also, at the end of Exhibit A, it says that the land consists of 6,840 acres, more or less, which is not the number used in the other documents, so I think clarification on that point is needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First off, I just wanted to thank you, Marty, for bringing in today, and I'd like to give copies to your planner on the formal objection and complaint for the recusal on the record for you being related to landowner. Okay. My name is Jill Kaufman, Platte County. Approval of this application in its current form violates the Platte County land use regulations and Platte County Development Plan, along with state statutes. There's 5 reasons that I'm going to give today. 1, deficient proof of ownership. Section 3.5.020 strictly mandates the ownership and encumbrance report to provide adequate notice to all parties of interest. The applicant failed to provide the certificate of O&E report from licensing title company, instead submitted a raw quitclaim deed and a 2025 memorandum of option. By their own admission, they have only completed a preliminary search, which does not satisfy the legal standard. Number 2, failure to identify adjacent landowners. A 1-mile project, better shown in the applicant's site plan, crosses the county line into Goshen County. However, the applicant relied exclusively on Platte County assessor data, failing to identify or notify the adjoining Goshen County landowners as required by Section 3.05.020. This omission fundamentally invalidates the public notice process. Number 3, spot zoning and comprehensive plan violations. Under Wyoming Statute 18.5.202B, zoning decisions must align with the comprehensive plan. The Platte County Development Plan designates Tier 3 rural areas strictly for ranching, agriculture, and recreation. Carving out an isolated 5,344-acre industrial enclave 13 miles from Wheatland contradicts the plan's growth management directives and exposes the county to legal liability for arbitrarily spot zoning. Number 4, evasion of Chapter 13 alternative and energy regulations. The applicant's proposal for multiple hundreds of megawatts of energy generation and storage triggers the strict permitting, setback, and bonding requirements of Chapter 13, a Class 4 industrial rezone. Sorry. Let me go back here. Bonding requirements of Chapter 13. A Class 4 industrial rezone cannot be used as a backdoor to bypass these specific utility scale requirements. And number 5, finally, unlawful automatic reverter or sunset clause. The applicant's request for an automatic reversion to RAM zoning, if construction does not commence within the 5 years, constitutes conditional or contract zoning. The Board of County Commissioners cannot legally authorize an automatic zoning map reversion without initiating a completely new statutorily noticed public hearing process. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jill.
Just start going here. Hi, my name's Don Hale. I moved here 38 years ago, and I brought a business with me. Is it on? Yeah. Okay, there we go.
There
I
you
brought
go.
a business with me, and now I have several businesses. And I've created businesses for my kids so that they can stay here and be in this county. You know, it takes a lot of work to do things, and we need new things in this county. I work with the road and bridge. I see people, I deliver products and concrete and everything else. If we don't keep growing, we're gonna die. So I'm for this rezoning. I think it's a, right for the owners to sell whatever the heck they want to sell. And you've got my vote to rezone. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Is it on? Teresa Baker, Chugwater. I'm here mostly, my main thing is in support of my fellow Goshen County people. I live in Goshen County, and you all have already approved and sent on to the commissioners the Chugwater Energy Project from NextEra. So I guess that sets a precedent in my mind, what's going to happen. I guess I just, love your neighbor as yourself. Where does that come in? It was spoken, who wants to live in the Goshen Hole? There's a lot of people that live down in the Goshen Hole. It's just incredible. So anyway, I haven't had time to study this hardly at all. It reminds me of Nancy Pelosi saying, let's pass the bill and then read the bill. Wyoming does not have any BESS regulations yet. I don't think Wyoming has any data center regs that I know of. So I think you're getting the cart before the horse. And like Kim said, there needs to be a moratorium. And like Amy said, we need way more information. I got as far as this proposal letter, and I didn't read further. But some interesting things have popped out to me. Appropriate location. Well, who decides what's appropriate? The last sentence in the first page, the project area has access to critical grid interconnections and other necessary existing infrastructure, is separated from residential uses and public spaces, and is visually buffered via topography from the community of Wheatland. Well, that's really nice, but it's not going to be buffered from the people living down in the Goshen Hole. And they are our neighbors. They're our friends. I think you need to consider what they say. Let's see. I have another question for you. Will there be a time that you all reach a percentage of land used that's right now ag, that's going to go to all these industrial projects like Nextera and the Site 4 plan? Do you have that in your mind? You know, when are you going to reach that? And another way to look at it, I guess, is money. I think this has to do with money coming into Platte County. Is there a dollar amount that you can live with, and that after that you'll say no more projects? Or have you discussed that in your meetings? To me, that's important. Or is there a percentage of people out in the audience or in the county or in Goshen County in opposition to this? What's that number that you will finally listen and say, at least we have to slow down? And I think that's all I have to say this day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Timothy Bendel. I've lived in Platte County for 20 years. I'll keep this fairly short. Marty, you said that this is about rezoning and not exactly the data center itself. Okay, so yeah, you said that this is about the rezoning and not the data center itself. Okay, my question is, why are you rezoning now? There's a lot of very valid questions as to what's going to happen, what the impact is on adjacent landowners. A lot of questions that I think are completely legitimate. So why are you rezoning now? Well, what I'm seeing right now is like you want to sign a mortgage before you're looking at the house. I mean, just wait. Rezoning is quick and easy. You can do it after we get all the answers.
Thank you.
That was a question. I expect an answer.
I'll give you an answer. You want it right now? Yes. Okay. I think it's just the first phase of their project. I think it's our duty to not necessarily look at this project, but if I, for example, wanted to come in tomorrow and rezone my property, I don't need to give anybody a reason why. I should have the right to do that. And it might be 10 years down the road when the project happens, or maybe never happen, but I should have the right to rezone. Once I rezone, and 10 years comes down the line and say a data center wants to come to me, then I'm going to have to come in front of this board and get a special use permit. I'm going to be held accountable for the DEQ, the EPA, the Game and Fish. I'm going to be held accountable for all that. So I don't see that being any different today. Right now, it's a rezone. It's a simple rezone. Just because these people here does not mean this is going to happen.
Okay, then why rezone?
Got to start somewhere.
Hi, my name's Susan Cowan. I didn't plan on speaking today, but I've lived in Platte County for 30 years now, and I'm a stone's throw away from where this project will be. It irritated me to hear someone say, who would want to live in Goshen Hole? It's visibly making me irritated because I think it's one of the prettiest places in our county. And I wonder how many people who are involved in this project have ever gone out there, have ever spent any time. The point from the gal that was talking about Goshen County being close and having a visual block, she's right. It's gorgeous out there, and you're taking it for granted that we have more and more acres that we really don't need. It is residential. It may not be populated like the rest of the county, and I think it's really rich that people that live 10 miles away that think that this is land that nobody cares about. They want to make decisions for our area. and we've lived out there for a reason. We've put up with the wind. We've put up with the transmission lines. We've put up with the wind farms that wanted to come in and didn't. We've put up with the pig farms that wanted to come in and didn't. And we're not going to stand idly by when it's 5,344 acres of prime Wyoming land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, I am Josephine Young on behalf of the Platte County Economic Development Board, and we've written this letter. To the Platte County Planning and Zoning Commission, as Platte County Economic Development, we believe it is important that every single significant development proposal is given the opportunity to move through the established policy review process and be evaluated on its own merits. The rezoning request before the Planning and Zoning Commission is not a vote to approve a data center or any specific development. Rather, it is one step in a much longer process that includes additional public meetings, technical review, permitting, and ultimately a decision by the Platte County Commissioners. If approved, the rezoning simply allows the applicant to continue through that process. If denied, that opportunity ends before many of the detailed questions surrounding infrastructure, water, power, roads, environmental impacts, economic benefits, and the community concerns can even be fully reviewed. Our permitting process exists for a reason. Each step is designed to gather information, allow public input, and ensure elected officials have the facts necessary to make informed decisions. Regardless of where someone ultimately stands on this project or any future industrial project, we believe our community benefits when proposals are evaluated through the established process rather than being decided before the full picture is available. Platte County has always valued thoughtful decision-making. Allowing a project to continue through the review process does not predetermine the outcome. It simply ensures that decisions are made based on complete information rather than assumptions. Every proposal should earn its approval or its denial based on the facts presented throughout the permitting process. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Leslie Cox. I have lived here my whole entire life, as had all my family, and we know everybody. I'm neither at this point pro or against the data. Oh, sorry. I'm neither at this point pro or against this thing. I think we're getting, in listening to the comments, getting a little bit off track. I think when we consider this zoning or rezoning, we need to look at what keeps the most control and the most money to Platte County and Platte County residents. I would hate, and I don't know these laws, I don't know nothing about rezoning, but I would hate to see somehow all the money that we've been talking about and control and choices, et cetera, end up with the state or federal government because we rezoned something wrong or we rezoned it at the wrong time or whatever. So I just want to say thank you for doing what you're doing because I don't want to do it. But can, you know, please do this in a manner that keeps the control to Platte County and the people and the landowners, everybody involved, but in Platte County, not the state and not the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Witt. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Many of you know me as I've lived here for over 60 years. I'm a fourth-generation Platte County resident and proud to say the fifth and sixth generation also live here. My great-grandparents came here in 1920. My roots here are deep, and I love this country, the state of Wyoming, and especially Platte County. I am proud to call Wheatland home. There is so much animosity, lies, hysteria, fear-mongering, and conspiracy theories being broadcast that it is difficult to sort through what the truth actually is as far as data centers. I do know I use data centers multiple times every single day, and can't imagine how society would function without them. I'm a real estate broker, and I have sold real estate for over 30 years and seen this county go through so many changes in that time frame. I also know this county is in desperate need of new industries and businesses. I stand in support of the Platte County Commissioners and the Planning and Zoning Board. I've known some of you only a few years, some of you quite a few years, and some of you for decades. Many of you have generational roots here, same as I have. In talking with you in a one-on-one basis, I have found you all to be diligent in carrying out the obligations of your positions, doing the research, digging into the difficult issues, and always willing to answer questions from the public. I applaud your honesty, patience, and dignity in these meetings. I support and trust Platte County Commissioners and the Planning and Zoning Board to make decisions that are beneficial to this community, including this rezoning application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's really quiet. Can you guys hear me? My name is Catherine Stevens. My family bought our homestead in an agricultural zone in Ram Land here in Platte County. We did this on purpose. We love the beauty and the silence of this land. We love the clean water in our well, and Goshen Hole, which we visit often, is like our own local Grand Canyon. It's gorgeous. I never imagined that a group of people tasked with protecting the use of the land and promoting the health, safety, and welfare of myself and my neighbors would have the inclination to reject their own mandate and put us in jeopardy instead. The choice before you is whether or not to rezone over 5,000 acres of wide open ag land in the Goshen Hole to industrial land. This is spot rezoning. It was mentioned before. It's not in accordance with the Platte County Land Use Plan that was adopted in '08. It's basically giving developers a blank check, regardless of the fact they'd still have to get a special use permit. It's like pre-approval. It's what it seems like to the people. It would mean violating our own regulations to turn a single tract of land into a space that no longer needs to abide by the rules of the larger area around it. It gives a unique financial advantage to one property owner at the expense of all neighboring property owners. At its core, this is a private property rights violation, and I know how much you all value private property rights. Sometimes spot zoning can be beneficial, like putting a small commercial plot amongst RAM parcels to build a grocery store that serves the people. But thanks to the application, we already know that this rezone is for a data center, a uniquely despised type of industrial complex. You may think that data centers are good for our economy, but that ultimately has nothing to do with land zoning, and your individual opinions on the rezone are secondary to the opinions of the affected landowners. If you approve this rezone, you'll be doing so against our county land use plan, against state statute, and against the fervent pleas of your constituents. I think in the past, you all have approached rezones and special use permits with the idea that the county will approve anything so long as the application seems reasonably coherent and the burden of proof is on the citizens to show why the county shouldn't do it. Well, that's all wrong. You're not supposed to be a panel of yes men and women. The burden of proof is actually on the applicant to prove no harm will come to the community as a result of their proposed rezone, and to prove that it would actually benefit the citizens of Platte County and not just financially. The purpose statements in Chapter 1 of our zoning regs say nothing about financial benefits, nor should they, and much about preserving the land itself, the natural resources therein, the health and safety of the people, and the historic use of the land, which is agricultural. In the end, though each of you will have to answer to the citizens of Platte County for your decisions, the accountability that's infinitely more serious is to the Creator. He made each of us, and He made this land, and we're only stewards of it for a little while. I'm almost done. I hope you all know deep down that He's concerned with how well you cared for the people your decisions will affect, not how reasonable you seem to corporations or how much money you brought to the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Planning and Zoning Board. My name is Junie. I have come up here before to ask you all to protect me and my family. Our land is about 5 miles from the proposed rezone area. It's beautiful, but every time I come up to ask for your help, oh, okay. Okay. Hello, Planning and Zoning Board. My name is Junie. I have come up here before to ask you all to protect me and my family. Our land is about 5 miles from the proposed rezone area. It's beautiful, but every time I come up to ask you for help, you ignore me and my family. So I'm going to use my time to read something much more valuable than my own words. This is from the book of 1 John chapter 1. This is the message which we have heard from him and declare to you, that God is light and in him is no darkness at all. We say that if we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not practice the truth. But if we walk in light, he is in the light. We have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus Christ, his Son, cleanses us from all sin. If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful to forgive us our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. If we say we have not sinned, we make him a liar, and his word is not in us. My little children, these things I write to you, so that you may not sin. And if anyone sins, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, in righteousness. And he himself is the propitiation for our sins, and not for ours only, but also for the whole world. Now by this we know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. He who says, I know him, and does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, truly the love of God is perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. He who abides in him, he who says he abides in him ought himself to walk just as he walked. Brethren, I write no new commandment to you, but an old commandment, which you have had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which you heard from the beginning. Again, a new commandment I write to you, which is true in him and in you, because the darkness is passing away, and the true light is already shining. He who says he is in the light and hates his brother is in darkness until now. He who loves his brother abides in the light, and there is no cause for stumbling in him. But he who hates his brother is in darkness, and walks in darkness, and does not know where he is going, because the darkness has blinded his eyes. I write to you, little children, because your sins are forgiven you for his name's sake. I write to you, fathers, because you have known him who is from the beginning. I write to you, young men, because you have overcome the wicked one. I write to you, little children, because you have known the Father. I have written to you, fathers. Because you have known him who is from the beginning, I have written to you, young men, because you are strong, and the word of God abides in you.
Thank you.
Hello, Planning and Zoning Board. My name is Milo Stevens. First of all, I hope you consider what my sister just said. It's very true. You should perhaps read it for yourself at some point. So basically what I was going to say is, given that the board has no right to discriminate between Site Layer 4 and the board's constituents, which are the citizens of Platte County, I request that all speakers be given up to 25 minutes and 10 seconds, which is the precise amount of time that Site Layer 4 was allowed to speak their own concerns, instead of an arbitrary 3-minute timeline. Or are you going to knowingly decide to treat the words of the applicant as more valuable than those of your constituents? Please allow me to lay out certain probable and possible impacts to Platte County from rezoning this land and subsequently putting a data center and energy project on it. And more importantly, the impact to its residents, the residents of Platte County, that is. The certain impacts will be road use disruption, decades-long destruction of the views from scenic Goshen Hole, and unwanted impacts to hunting land. Hunting is a major local hobby. The impacts to hunting would include direct reduction of land for hunting and declining wildlife populations because of a lack of land to support the wildlife. In 2 years, I will be graduating from high school. And despite my enthusiasm for technology and electronics in particular, a technician job like what has been proposed for members of my generation at this plant is not the kind of thing that I'm looking for. I am a member of the next generation. And having a job at a data center is not too attracting to me. And to be clear, I am not opposed to change as long as there is significant benefit to a surrounding community and as long as there is likely damage and even certain damage to natural resources. It is not worth benefiting one property owner at the expense of several adjacent neighbors. Some probable impacts to adjacent neighbors of this project will be water table declination due to construction and the need to change the circulated water periodically, pollution of the aquifers due to waste chemicals released during the cleaning out of the cooling systems, and elevated electricity prices because of high demand during construction. Some possible impacts would be inability of surrounding landowners to get water from their wells because of the drop in the water table, and if the AI bubble declines, as several analysts have predicted, the campus would most likely become obsolete, and then it would be unprofitable for Site Layer 4 and whoever's actually leasing the campus from them to continue keeping it up, and it would become an abandoned industrial wasteland with no benefit to Platte County at all. Thank you, and I really hope you consider my request, and don't just brush it off like you did last time with the wind project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Good. Thank you. I am in opposition to the rezoning request by Site Layer 4. While rezoning is not a done deal for the enormous proposed data center, it is the first step, one that essentially opens the door to this data center becoming a fast-moving train. Rezoning would essentially state, come on in, boys, we're open for business. I understand the concerns of people in Platte County and in Wheatland for more economic development. But the data centers that would undoubtedly come as a result of rezoning are not something that are germane to Wyoming and are being considered as something to be dreaded by many people in the United States. Data centers are in, I'm not sure what the problem is here. Data centers now are large industrial developments. Unlike the data centers of the past, these new proposed centers are huge facilities that run 24 hours a day, often utilizing as much energy as an entire city to power servers and cooling systems. The current proposed data centers pose an existential threat to Wyoming's way of life. The land, the wildlife, the space, the quiet. These are not only hugely important to Wyomingites, indeed, they are the reasons most of us live here. Wyoming is unique. We are not like many of the other states. We have many, many things to be proud of. All of these things that are akin to Wyoming are very important in generating lucrative tourism for our state. The land that would be rezoned is agricultural land in a setting of great beauty, canyons and natural springs. It has been home to wildlife and century-old pines that support wildlife not typically seen on the surrounding plains. Wyoming is in a terrible drought right now. Even without the drought, Wyoming is a semi-arid state. We know already that our reservoirs and rivers are undergoing huge stresses and that our aquifers are being depleted at a much faster rate than we had thought. The demands on the Colorado River will also be a huge factor in our water supplies going forward, with 4 times the population using this greatly depleted water source. It is well known that data centers are energy hogs. Utilities spend billions to serve the immense energy demands of individual data centers. In some cases, communities are left to foot the bill. Further, the upfront costs for a new power plant with grid infrastructure to serve data centers can exceed billions of dollars. Unless strong protections are in place, the general public could be stuck with paying off those costs. And yes, many data centers are proposing that they will indeed provide their own energy. However, what goes with that are generators that make huge amounts of noise, affecting nearby landowners to a great extent.
Are you about to wrap it up?
I am just about to wrap it up.
Okay, we got about 10 seconds.
Because of the rapid expansion of data centers throughout the Wyoming, the focal point of their discussion has been whether and how the county should prepare for data centers. Every county should ensure that data centers are powered by clean energy, do not pass on their costs to bill payers, and mitigate their impacts. Then and only then should those centers be approved going forward. And I would be one to certainly strongly support, at the very minimum, a moratorium. Many, many states in this country are already proposing moratoriums because they know what the concerns are going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Josh Martinez. I sent you guys some paperwork here for application for a moratorium. I don't know any place coast to coast that has benefited or any community been happy with the results of a data center being there. And it's very apparent that a lot of things here are changing, you know. And I agree with everybody that, yes, we need more businesses here. You know, our small town needs some business so it doesn't blow away. I completely agree with that. But since we're talking about businesses.
Phone?
What's that?
Can you get closer to, is it on? Is it green? Is your little button green?
It's still green. Okay, okay, I'm good. So I'm gonna bring in a little bit of history about this town. And what will happen if you change this zoning? You know, it's a downhill slope right after that, as soon as that happens. There used to be a company called Wadco here, if anybody's been here long enough. And later on, it became PCED. The founding member of that one was Gregory Gertz, which you are a family member of. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a conflict of interest, and for PCED to be working this little deal here. They go into boardrooms and discuss things in private that we're not allowed to find out what's going on. I think that's highly inappropriate. And if you change these things without the community having a say, I think you should at least give it a moratorium. You know what I mean? Till we could find out. If it's good now, you say it's so good and you're trying to sell it, then it'll be a good for a year from now. Trust me on that. You have to live amongst these people here in the community. And your body language right now explains everything I need to know. And by the time we're done, bud, I want that $100. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chloe Butler, and I'm here to speak to you specifically about zoning, the rezoning of this. Commissioners, under Wyoming law and the Wyoming Supreme Court decision, Ford versus Board of County Commissioners of Converse County, counties do not have home rule for land use. Your power is to rezone this 5,344 acre parcel exists only as explicitly granted by Wyoming statute 185202B, which inextricably linked a county's authority to zone to its comprehensive development plan. This right here. Our Platte County followed this in adopting the Platte County Development Plan, which on its cover, the cover of this plan, acknowledged it as a policy in the development of the county. It is the statutory foundation guiding the Platte County land use rules and regulations. It states in Chapter 1.5, Number 2, in the Platte County Plan, that zoning must be based on the adopted land use plan to be legal. The Platte County Development Plan created a strict three-tiered planning format that you've heard a little bit about before. And it's directing urban and industrial growth to specific designated areas, while the rural area designation is strictly reserved for ranching, agriculture, and recreation. So that's why we say that approving this industrial spot zone without amending the underlying comprehensive plan violates the direct text of Wyoming Statute 185202B. As the Wyoming Supreme Court established in Ford, you cannot use general powers or promises of economic gain as a backdoor to bypass Wyoming statute. Therefore, the burden of proof is entirely on Site Layer 4, not us, to prove how dropping a utility scale industrial campus, and I'm about to finish up, into a Tier 3 rural area complies with the Platte County Development Plan, because this application contradicts the plan, severing the link between the plan and the zoning. Approving it is acting outside of your statutory authority, and the decision following is void.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rick Cronk from Chugwater, Wyoming, Platte County, and I'm going to give you a few analogs and scenarios of what I see. I see that we're in a drought. We haven't had a good economic years for the last couple of years, and I see you all, we're gullible. We're gullible. And I see this as, it reminds me of the Cheyenne Frontier days. They got a big carousel down there with these ponies. They're saddled up and everything. And if these ponies, these kids want to ride these ponies. And these ponies have got, the driver of the ponies, he's got a long stick with a string on it. On the end of that string's a carrot, and that pony goes after that carrot and the kid gets on the back of that pony and gets a free ride around that carousel. I see the same thing happening here, only they're using money. And if we're not careful, we're going to end up in a can. Anyway, another thing is, too, in Waco, Texas, they've got an ordinance down there that a guy went to the city council and he wanted to get a chicken or two, and he's around his farm, or little farm there, but he had to go to his neighbor and get authority first before he could even present it to the zoning board or whatever. And I don't know. I can see these folks. I can't blame them for wanting to sell their land and making a profit, but what's happened a few years ago is the Chinese come in and start buying land around all these missile bases and Air Force bases, Army bases, and they had to put a stop to it because they're collecting too much information. And you get to thinking about AI is probably the main thing that these folks are after, artificial intelligence. And this data center, I've heard, is already obsolete. And the main thing, I've lived up there at Chugwater for 35 plus years, and the main thing I went out there for, I don't know why I went out there. I live out in the middle of nowhere, basically 6 miles out of Chugwater, but my dad told me to go out there and live out there, and I've been there, and I like the peace and the tranquility, and we're going to lose that, I'm afraid, if we got these zoning, you know. We need to get ahead of this right off the bat before it gets too out of control. The way I see it, I don't know. You all can make a decision and go from there, but you're going to have to live with it. And I don't know, the aesthetics and the noise. A few years ago, when the war was going on in Afghanistan and stuff, they used the sound of to break the enemy, and the enemy would finally break down and just keep playing and playing this music. And a perfect example was Waco, Texas, when the Branch Davidian went down there. They used the used music and stuff, drove these guys crazy, but it ended up driving the police and the law enforcement nuts. So they had to quit playing it. And I don't know, I see the same scenarios and stuff happening here, and it's going to, now, we get to thinking about this.
Sir, I'm going to have to cut you off. You're past the 3
Pardon?
minutes. You're past 3 minutes.
I am?
Yeah, by about 30 seconds anyway. Thank you. We need to move on.
The aesthetics, we're going to lose our aesthetics up there of the community and down there, we're in Goshen County, whatever. And we're going to lose the aesthetics. We're going to lose our fishing and hunting licenses and privileges there. That's just something to think about. I'll throw that out to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Rick Teeters, and Juan, I'm the guy that lives down in Goshen Hole. My family's been there for 85 years. There's just some things that you guys need to be aware of that make that area very, very unique. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against Gregor having the right to do with his land what he wants to do. I believe in landowner rights. But at the same time, there's some very, very sensitive things about Goshen Hole. One of them is there is no water in Goshen Hole. I don't know how many holes we poked trying to find water. And 90%, 95% of all the cattle and everything that's watered in Goshen Hole is off of that rim. It's springs and artesians that come off that rim all the way around it. And that's what waters that whole thing. When you get in the bottom of that thing, they're talking about 30 homes or 30 wells or whatever. There are not any more wells in all of Goshen Hole than 30 that have anything more than a gallon or two a minute in them. It's the water's not there. So when we address that situation, it concerns me that there is no state regulation here. As we've done this wind project, and I've followed it, and I've been in the fire service for 4.5 decades, and we have all kinds of state agencies that are responsible in these large projects to make sure that things are the way they're supposed to be. When it comes to converting this thing over to industrial and turning something like a data center loose, the state has no regulation. Industrial siting waves you by. DEQ is going to do what little bit of noise there is. The state engineer is going to just let you drill holes wherever you can drill them and go deeper. There is no regulation, and that concerns me that going forward, we need to go back to the legislature and have the state step up to the plate here. When they did the regulations for data centers, they threw the door open, and they've not done that with anything else. I even went as far as to go back to the Industrial Siting Council and say, if they put a 1.5 megawatt power station in there, are you not in charge of that power station? They don't think so. So the state has some work to do here. I'm encouraging a moratorium. Let's go back to the legislature and make the state take some responsibility, because if they don't, then we're left with this board and the commissioners to try and protect our interests. And that is, to me, we have one person here that's going to be responsible to try and make sure that, I mean, and what happens in 35 years and there's no bonding and something happens or this thing times out, who's going to get rid of it? What are they going to do with it? So it's very concerning. We need to be really careful going forward that we do the right thing. I'm not opposed to Gregor doing what he wants to do, but let's make sure we're not going to damage everything around us in the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sean Hall. I didn't come here today with anything prepared. I just kind of have sat and taken this in and have some comments to make about what I've heard, some of the things that I knew or maybe I thought I knew before I came. I too sit in your capacity in Goshen County. I'm a member of the Goshen County Planning Board. There's 5 of us as well. I appreciate what you do. I know it's not easy. I know you take a lot of heat, and you're going to take a lot of heat through this deal. But I, as an individual on our planning board, I think it carries a tremendous amount of responsibility, and I handle that position that way. I feel personally when I sit at that table that I have to view things with a 360-degree viewpoint. And today, you're getting a lot of people that are coming at you with a 10-degree viewpoint. And that's normal. I may be the one today coming at you with a 10-degree viewpoint. I'm Rick Teeter's neighbor. I own and lease a considerable amount of rangeland in Goshen Hole. I also kind of have an interest in seeing the direction that you and your commissioners go, because I own a ranch in the northeast part of this county in the Meadowdale community. So I've got a lot at stake here. I listened to your project manager and a couple points that I'd like to address there. He said that the Platte County Road and Bridge and the emergency services have no problem with any of this rezoning. I mean, no disrespect, but I think they're living with blinders on. there will be a lot of issues for emergency services. I just drove up Dickinson Hill today. That's the only access from this side of that project. There's no way that that can sustain this. And again, I know that you're considering zoning today, and if I go a little long, bear with me here. I hope I'm making some valid points. But we all know the reason for the zoning. So there's no way that your road infrastructure can support the amount of traffic that it's going to take to create and maintain one of these projects. As far as the water, he mentioned that 15 households, no, 15 acre feet, excuse me. 15 acre feet is about 326,000 gallons in an acre feet. If you take that 15 times, that's roughly 5 million gallons of water. Rick's right. Those wells down there are fragile. They're not big producers. I've got several of them, and the best well I have is probably 10 gallons a minute, and that's off the charts for Goshen Hole. Most of them are probably going to average about 4 gallons a minute. If you took a 4 gallon a minute well, pumped it 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, that's going to pump 35,000 gallons of water. That 5 million gallons divided by 35,000, that's 142 wells. You're not going to sustain that water table down there with an extra 142 gallons of well in a concentrated area next to that data center. Now they're going to tell you, oh, we're going to go deep. We're going to go down below so we don't damage your aquifer. Well, I'm just a cowboy, and I don't have letters behind my name that tell people I'm a geologist, but I still believe that gravity applies, and the rain falls from the sky, it comes down to the soil surface, and gravity pulls it into the strata. So where is the water from the deep wells going to come? It has to come through the shallow aquifers. I think that's a concern. I think there's a lot of concerns, and I know I'm out of time here, but what I'm asking you guys to do, this is a big decision, and the ramifications of the decisions you make, and ultimately, I think you're probably set up the same way that we are in Goshen County. You serve at the pleasure of the commissioners of your county. You're just an advisory board, but they give a lot of weight in their decision to what you bring to them. That's the way it works over there, and I'm sure it works the same way here. So the information that you go to these commissioners with and the decision they make, there's going to be ramifications that last beyond our lifetimes, the people in this room. These are big, important decisions. And like Rick said, this is the Wild West, and that's why these people are coming to Wyoming. There's no water here. They know that, but all right, bear with me here.
Yeah, well, I got to be fair.
West.
I can't let you go on. So
this is the Wild West, and they know it. So because of that, take some time. If you have to slow down on this deal and don't rezone it for a while, give the legislature a chance to get a hold of this deal because there are no regulations in Wyoming. Thanks for allowing me to go a little long. Thank you.
Hi, I'm June Bacon, and when you're considering this rezoning, I hope you think about the number of pieces of equipment that the farmers and ranchers use, the numbers of livestock that possibly get moved, and if we're bringing in industrial things, of course, the traffic is going to be increased, and that could create some pretty big hazards on some of our roads.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Bates. I've been a Wheatland resident for 21 years and uniquely have grown up in Goshen County. I have my own thoughts on data centers, not real set on what I think right now, but that's really irrelevant to what's going on today. My only point that I really want to make up here is that private landowners should be able to do with their land what they want. And the moment that government starts telling them what to do is the moment that things are going to get real hairy in this country. And I'm really glad to live in this country.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jennifer Stone, and I'm a resident of Platte County. I'm the owner of Twisted Threads. I sit on the Chamber Board and the Platte County Economic Development Board. The majority of my adult life, I have championed to bring small business into this community. I am here because I believe this board has a real opportunity, not just a regulated data center, but to show this county how to do economic development right. A few years ago, my husband and I tried to bring a workforce housing project here for the Power Plant's SCR project. That process taught me exactly how a board can kill a good project by piling on requirements that sound responsible but make no practical sense, like requiring permanent curb and gutter for temporary housing. It didn't protect anyone. It just pushed the project out into the county, and it cost the community some benefits of it. That is the lesson I'm asking you to apply here. You can write a special use permit language for data centers that is genuinely protective on things like noise, water use, traffic, setbacks, without writing requirements so burdensome that no project can ever clear them. Good regulation isn't about making something impossible. It's about making it work for the county. For our tax base, our roads, our schools, our fire districts, and the small businesses that depend on people passing through and spending money. So my ask is simple. Adopt the data center language. Use common sense in how you write it. Set the standards that are real and enforceable, not symbolic ones that only exist to stop projects. Look at what actually protects Platte County's infrastructure capacity, environmental impact, and fair tax agreements, and leave out the requirements that just sound tough without doing anything. This board can be the reason a good project succeeds here instead of going to the next county over. You can set the standard of how Platte County grows. Welcoming to responsible investment, careful about what actually matters, and not so tangled in red tape that we talk ourselves out of every opportunity that comes our way. I'm asking you to pass the language that lets this county say yes the right way. In closing, Scripture calls for us to pray for those in authority, for our leaders, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives. It says that pleases God, who wants everyone to be saved and to come to a knowledge of the truth. I pray this board is guided in the spirit as you take up this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other public comment? It would not have been a meeting without you, Lucinda.
Pardon me?
Sign in first, please, just like everybody else.
Everybody else didn't sign in.
Yeah, everybody signed in.
No? I wasn't watching. Good afternoon. My name is Lucinda Houchins. And on page 12 of the 2008 Platte County Development Plan, it calls for meaningful citizen input if the planning process is to be successful. Sad to say, I feel that the citizens of this county have not had meaningful input into this process through all the hearings we've had. In fact, I had an admission that some of you don't do your homework, and that's sad. It's sad for us because we depend on you. This application for rezoning is incomplete, and today we heard there's a discrepancy, a major discrepancy. And it was brought about by someone from Goshen County who does a very good job of reading. On the last page, she noted that instead of the 5,344 acres, we are talking about 6,840 acres. That's a major change. Site Layer 4 did not provide a certified ownership and encumbrance report from a licensed title company as required in the Platte County rules and regulations. Instead, the applicant included raw quitclaim deeds and a 2025 memorandum of option, which do not satisfy the legal standard. Look at all the pages in Exhibit A, please. You will not find the names of the owners of the land in question. Considering Wyoming Statute 18.5.202B, the Planning and Zoning Commission may prepare and amend a comprehensive plan, including zoning, for promoting the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the unincorporated areas of the county. And there are two distinct and important parts, as Chloe mentioned. There's the Platte County Development Plan, and then there's the rules and regulations. Numerous references in the land plan talk about the three-tiered approach of planning: the industrial and compact urban development, which is around the Wheatland growth area. The special planning areas, basically, that's the cities, the state parks, and Camp Guernsey. Now, Tier 3 is the one that we're concerned about here today. This is the rural area, which is reserved exclusively for ranching, agriculture, recreation, and open space. Carving out an isolated 5,344-acre industrial zone 13 miles from Wheatland contradicts the land use plan's growth management and exposes the county to legal liability for arbitrary spot zoning. And it's very troubling that Ian Marcus, the spokesman for Site Level 4, claims that this plan, this application, aligns with the economic, land use, environmental goals of Platte County Development Plan. But that is not true, no matter how many times he puts it in his letter.
Lucinda, you got about 10 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to finish up.
Okay, thank you.
As planning and zoning commissioners, can you prove that dropping a 5,344-acre industrial campus into a Tier 3 rural area strictly complies with the Platte County Land Use Plan? Likewise, can Site Layer 4 point to a specific provision in the Comprehensive Land Use Plan that supports this exact spot zone? Instead of rubber stamping your approval of this rezoning application, I ask that you either reject it outright or at the very least return the application as incomplete and let Site Layer 4
Okay, Lucinda, that's enough.
try to
Thank you.
complete the application as expected by the county. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Jackie Wallace. I'm a long-term resident. I was born and raised here. And so I've been kind of following this. This is actually close to where I reside. And I understand that this is just the zoning look at. So I think my biggest question, and maybe that's not, okay, maybe that's not an answer for today, but what does the special use permit look like if we do approve this zoning change? does the public get to address those concerns? I'm assuming so. And then the other thing that I have heard is the statutes of the O&E that everyone is talking about. I did work at a title company, so I don't know if they're saying ROG, but a record owner guarantee would be the same thing as an owner and encumbrance report. And then the other thing I would just like to end with is we have watched big companies come in and they stay for a while and then they leave. I know that some of the comments about this turning into a ghost town has been said. Some of those are from big name corporations. First American is one of them. They stayed for 25 years and just in the last year decided to close their doors and do everything out of Goshen County, which is it took jobs away from Platte County. We still, from my knowledge, use them. So that's just kind of some of the things. Taco John's, Burger King, those are big names that have just closed their doors and pulled out completely. So that's just some of my concerns. I understand that may not be in line with this, but thank you for letting me share.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Patty Franklin, and I have lived in Wyoming for 40 years, and I currently reside in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and so I grew up in Goshen County. So I have watched businesses come in and out. I've watched them be turned away. I've watched counties shrivel up because they are retirement communities, but I am very much in favor of you guys letting this rezoning go through, because no matter what, at the end of the day, this has not been set up for a data center. It has been set up for rezoning, for them to be able to use this land how they want to use it. So if he brought in a trucking company, he can bring in a trucking company. If they want to use it for whatever will add economic monies to the county, it can be done for those reasons. Everybody wants to shoot it right over to a data center. That is not necessarily the case. There's a lot of things that it can be used for, and so I think that at the end of the day, telling somebody that they cannot use their land the way they see fit opens it up for a very slippery slope for anybody in this county. So I think that letting it be rezoned, it's his land. He can do with it how he sees fit. And I just encourage you to look at all of those points before you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment?
Good afternoon.
Is your light green on your
It
microphone?
is. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
thanks.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you wanted to hear from me. Seems how we're doing just the industrial side today. Chairman, member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, county staff, and members of the public, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Jason Wright. I serve as the general manager of Wheatland Rural Electric Association. I am here to provide context on large electric loads, including projects such as data centers, and to explain the protections that have been put in place. Sorry, I had to back up because I couldn't see. Okay. To ensure these types of loads do not negatively affect Wheatland REA's existing members. For nearly 2 years, Tri-State Generation and Transmission, along with its member cooperatives, which include Wheatland Rural Electric Association, have been working on a rate tariff to address unprecedented large load additions. The purpose of that work is straightforward. If these types of loads are added to the system, they must be added in a way that protects the reliability, protects affordability, and prevents existing members from paying for cost or stranded assets created by a new project. The high-impact load tariff accepted by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is designed to accomplish that goal. Wheatland REA supports responsible economic development, and large loads can provide meaningful benefits when they are properly planned and properly paid for. But without safeguards, large loads can also create reliability concerns, drive new generation transmission costs, and shift risk onto existing homes, farms, ranches, and businesses. We have seen examples around the country where rapid data center growth has placed pressure on generation costs, transmission investment, and residential electric bills. Those examples reinforce the importance of making sure the cost and risk of serving a large new load are assigned to the project creating them, not shifted to the broader membership. In plain terms, first, the tariff requires a large load to prove it can be served before services move forward. Tri-State must evaluate whether there is enough power supply, transmission capacity, and reliable margins to handle the load. Second, it protects against rate increase for everyone else. A project must pass an economic test showing it will not increase rates to the membership. That is important protection for the existing members. Third, it requires a requesting party to pay project-specific costs, including interconnection facilities, transmission upgrades needed for the project. And fourth, it requires financial security, such as a letter of credit, gratuity, guarantee, so that Tri-State and its members are protected if a project is delayed, cancels, underperforms, or creates stranded assets. Fifth, it requires detailed load projections that limit Tri-State's obligations to serve only the agreed level of demand and energy, and this prevents speculative projects from driving system costs up. I'll leave you with one thing. This is a quote from FERC. Tri-State's proposed Hill tariff and pro forma Hill agreement helps Tri-State to maintain the reliable operation of its transmission system and provisions of full requirement service to its utility members, while also helping to protect against cost shifts to the other utility members. Time up.
Thank you,
I will be
Jason.
sending out a letter to the membership first part of next week. But we've got it in place. We've been working on this for a long time to protect on rates.
Thank you. We might have some questions, so are you planning on sticking around?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hello, Letitia Lane. I'm a Platte County resident. I do want clarification on whether okaying this is at odds with the development plan and also state statute, which was brought up. I would like to, if you think it is, to clarify that it is and why. And if anybody was confused, this is so a data center can come there. This is for a data center. It's going to happen if this gets approved. There's a lot to say that I don't have time for, but I'm against this rezone for a lot of the reasons that were brought up. It's a beautiful land. That's why my family moved here. That's why my children are growing up here and do want to live in this community. And it would be a shame to drop this in the middle of that. As one of the ladies said, for us to be so bold is just to decide up into where she lives in a beautiful place that deserves to be preserved, that God made for us to enjoy and to steward and take care of. That's all I'll say for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other public comment?
Can you double dip?
No, sir. Not unless we ask questions of you. Any other public comment? All right, at this time, I will close it to public comment, bring it before the board for further discussion, but we will take a short recess so everybody can use the restroom and get a drink of water, and then we'll reconvene in 10 minutes.
I'm okay with passing it off. Bob is too. Yeah, I'm okay with that. No, he's not. I think he is. Did I hang up? Bob, did I hang up on you? Must have. Okay, let me call him back. Yep, call him back. 307.
Should just be, oh, 0, 0, 0, 9. There you go.
Let's poke all the buttons. I think we gotta push this one.
Yeah, that one.
If we could find our way back to our seats, let's start in a couple minutes, please.
own research. I've been around.
Okay, we're going to reconvene. First thing, Blake, there were some questions from some of the audience. I didn't know if you wanted to address some of those issues or could address some of those issues. And I wrote down a couple. Does anybody else have any questions? Anybody else have any questions?
At this time, I don't, but I will.
I gotta figure out where I wrote the damn thing. I had one question, and in a perfect world, what would be the timeline? You talked about these 3 different sites, not sites, but 3 different layers. In a perfect world, what kind of time frame are we talking from 1 to 3? Years? Well, any idea? Just in general. I don't think anybody's going to hold your feet to the fire. Just in general, is there a rule of thumb?
There is not a rule of thumb. A lot of our timeline will be dictated by our commercial negotiations and the site diligence. We are hoping to submit an application within this calendar year. And we imagine there'll be pretty significant, like, curing periods and conditions of a special use permit that will need to be negotiated over a period of time.
And you also mentioned about the different agencies, and I just want to reiterate or make sure. Game and Fish, all the agencies, you're held accountable for those, correct?
Absolutely.
I think there's 17 state agencies. Okay. Jason, are you still here? Dang it. Jason Wright, are you still here? Can you come up front does he still have a microphone at the podium?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Could you just speak clear into that microphone and just kind of touch briefly on what you tried to explain to us? It was hard to hear, for me to hear.
Okay. Yeah, basically what I was trying to get across is that we've been working on this for 2 years. We could see it was coming. We knew that something was up. And so Tri-State, which is our generation transmission G&T, which we're an owner of, just like you're an owner of Wheatland REA, we're an owner of them. We started working on a tariff for this. And so it has been passed by FERC as of August 14th or 17th. And what it does...
Can you explain the acronym FERC?
Yeah, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Okay, so that's a governing body, just like the Wyoming Public Service Commission is for Wheatland REA. And so with that, we put protections in place that if any of these loads come on, they have to pay all their costs. Any generation that has to be built for this, they either have to build themselves and put that risk on their business, or if we go out and procure the generation, they have to pay a substantial deposit that we hang on to for a number of years. There is a prorated way of them getting it back, but it's after a period of time. And that number is just shy of $1.9 million per megawatt. So we're put protections in place to make sure that the costs do not shift to the rest of the membership. And just to make sure that we protect ourselves from that. Because it's real, it's happened in other places in the country. So when people say it's shifted to them, it did. We've put stuff in place to make sure that couldn't happen and be ready for anything like this to come.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Jason?
Yeah, I got one.
Yes, sir.
You got power up Ridge Road yet?
I've got a lot of power up Ridge Road.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, I think they came back on about 30 minutes ago. So.
Thank you, Jason.
So I guess I have a question for you guys. I think some of the fear of this thing coming in is it's going to overwhelm the town of Wheatland and the county. Can you kind of give us like a timeline of how many people are going to be coming here to help you build this? And is it going to be over a 5-year period of building the projects? Or is it going to be a 10-year? Or just kind of give us a little bit of information on what you're thinking the possible influx in people in Wheatland are and the services that's required for us.
Yeah, I think that's an incredibly reasonable question. And unfortunately, the size of this project will be predicated on the amount of energy that can be developed on site or purchased through partners. And so the amount of permanent employees and temporary construction employees and the phasing of that will be completely dictated by our commercial negotiations, which are in the initial phase right now. And so the rezoning application will give us the opportunity to proceed with those negotiations and then bring more clarity back during our application process.
You get to hear from the lawyer now, so apologies. My name's Jeff Pope. I'm counsel for the project. I just, to your question about understanding that timeline, I wanted to flag for you and everybody listening that the project, regardless of what it ends up as, will have to engage with the Industrial Siding Division of DEQ to some extent. One of the requirements, no matter what kind of permit they end up getting from industrial siding, they will have to provide a proposed construction schedule, as well as projected workforce estimates by calendar quarter, and that would be publicly available information when that gets produced. So when the project is ready for that stage, that information will be available to the public.
And I understand that, but what I'm saying, or what I'm getting from the public when I talk to them, is in 3 years, is the town of Wheatland going to double if this goes through? And that scares a lot of people, because some of us remember when the power plant come in, the massive development out here. There had to be a new school built. There had to be a whole bunch of temporary housing and trailer parks type stuff. And I think that's what scares the people, is they don't want to see Wheatland just expand well out of its boundaries. And I think if it's a slow growth that takes, I'm just going to say 5 to 10 years to do, then I think the town of Wheatland can handle it. But if it's something that happens in 6 months to a year, it's going to affect everybody. And I just want you guys to kind of help us reassure what's going to happen to the county if this goes forward as what you guys are planning.
As Blake said, it's a valid question. We know that it is a fear and a concern. And one of the reasons that we are looking for the rezone application and decision is so that we have line of sight on the schedule, the project development process schedule, and permitting. There are a few different pathways that this could go, and those pathways are very different, and they involve a completely different schedule and order of operations and order of investment in the project to move it forward. And we simply do not know at this time. And in our experience, if we provide information too far in advance that we know is going to change and there's just not much certainty, that usually does not go over well in the future when it does change, and then it can be more confusing to people because then it's on the record of, well, you said it was going to be this, this, and this, and these numbers, and et cetera. So we cannot commit right now. We're trying to understand what the permitting process would be like, and then all of these studies. I can tell you that we, as Jeff mentioned, understand that the Industrial Siding Division has a role to play here. We are preparing for the maximum case scenario of needing to prepare the, exhaustive number of studies. We're just doing that for the environmental studies in particular. It's a best management practice, and it's just good project development, because it's in the project interest to actually consider all of those things as well, because you need to be able to have the facilities and support to actually complete the schedule. We also don't want to have Wheatland overwhelmed. That's not going to be in the best interest of the project and for delivery of the project.
Any other questions from the board?
I think you can see the overwhelming amount of people who are here. They're concerned about what's going on. And I hope you do follow through with listening. But you've got some homework to do, like what are you going to do about the water? Water's a big deal. The roads, decommissioning, that could be a big deal. What are your plans for that? But to me, we're here at the baby step. We're just trying to get that rezoned. And I think Gregor and Cindy have a right to ask for that. I don't want somebody telling me what I can or can't do on my property, as long as I'm doing it safely and not creating a hazard. So I'm for go ahead and pass this on for a rezone. I guess I'll make the motion with the conditions that our planner read. Do you mind reading those again, Laura?
Not at all. Condition 1, the rezoned land will revert to ranching, agricultural, and mining land if construction of the site layer 4 has not commenced within 5 years of the rezoning approval date or upon permanent decommissioning. This is a sunset clause the applicant has requested and the planning office agrees with, based upon the following definition of sunset clause. Sunset clause, a set of law, rule, or contract that has an expiration date. It says the rule will stop working on a specific day or when a certain event happens unless people in charge vote to extend it. In this case, the people in charge would be both the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. Number 2, any industrial park subdivision of the land is to be presented to the Board of County Commissioners for review prior to recording. The county does not have jurisdiction over large acre parcels, and as a result will only be reviewing the proposed industrial park record of survey, or plat, accompanied by any state required approvals. At this time, a site plan is to be presented to the by the applicant permittee for preliminary review by the Planning Office and the Board of County Commissioners. Number 3, any type of development on the rezoned land must obtain a special use permit. And the preliminary review should not be by the Planning Office. I'm sorry, it should be the Planning and Zoning Board. So I can add that, the Planning Office, Planning and Zoning Board, and Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah, I would like that to that condition, Planning and Zoning Board. And I want to address Amy Miller's concerns and Brandon's. I think you know us all pretty well up here on this panel. None of us want to see the county be harmed. We want to try and do the right thing, and hopefully we try and make them, when they come for a special use permit, we look out for the county, roads, maybe, who knows, other infrastructure, but we need to do our homework and do our due diligence to put that information together. So that, I think you know us pretty well. Any other discussion?
I'll move to second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Bob just said aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The meeting is now adjourned.